They didn't accidentally build a world that keeps you broke and obedient. They engineered it. Not with cartoon villains in smoke-filled rooms, but with rules that look normal. You're told the path is simple. Study hard. Follow the instructions. Avoid trouble. Get the safe job. Keep your head down. Retire someday. Sounds responsible. But ask yourself, has that path been creating freedom for most people, or packaging anxiety with a shiny bow? Look around. Mornings feel like traffic and coffee and scrolling yourself numb. Evenings slide by in a blur of shows and snacks. Weekends vanish. Sunday dread creeps in, and Monday resets the loop. That's not a life. That's a schedule. And schedules keep the machine fed. Your time is the commodity. Your attention is the leash. Your fear is the lock. Here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Poverty isn't just about your bank account. It's a mindset trained into you. Aim small, fear risk, worship permission. You were conditioned to think success is for special people in special rooms. Meanwhile, the special ones learned something you didn't. Systems favor those who understand them, not those who blindly trust them. Machiavelli clocked this centuries ago. He didn't write for the naive. He wrote for people who wanted to stop being pieces on the board and start playing the board. He understood rulers design incentives to serve themselves, not you. And he'd whisper the same thing to you now. If a system was designed, it can be studied. If it can be studied, it can be exploited. And if it can be exploited, you can escape without burning it down. Let's talk reactions. Most people hear this and recoil. I'm free. My choices are mine. But the bills tell a different story. The debt says otherwise. The don't rock the boat voice in your head isn't your conscience. It's conditioning. So we grab quick comforts, cheap dopamine and trending drama to avoid the quiet where the truth lives. The system feeds you crumbs and convinces you it's a feast. Promotions, titles, tiny wins. Just enough to keep you loyal to a game you didn't set up. Here's the flip. You don't have to overthrow anything. You have to stop being harvestable. The system runs on dependence and fear. Remove both, and you become an anomaly. Hard to use, impossible to box in. When you stop begging for permission, you stop being predictable. When you stop seeking approval, you stop being controllable. It's not rebellion for rebellion's sake. It's strategy. Machiavelli would call it moving like a fox among lions, reading patterns, bending rules, staying 2 steps ahead. There is a cost for refusing to wake up. You know it. You trade your 20s for other people's deadlines, your 30s for interest payments, your 40s for apologizing to your younger self. You arrive at your 50s asking where the decades went, and the answer is simple. Into a system that pays out just enough to keep you docile. The interest rates replace the whips. The calendar replaced the cage. So what's the alternative? Stop asking to be free. Start acting as if you already are. That doesn't mean chaos. That means calculated moves. If school trained obedience, educate yourself in strategy. If your job trained dependency, build leverage after hours. If the feed trains you to react, train yourself to observe. It's not dramatic. It's quiet, relentless, and a little uncomfortable, because growth is. Picture this. Most people are content in the pen. They're fed, guided, and fenced in. They sense the boundary, but call it stability. Machiavelli would say, stop bleeding, start studying. Watch the shepherd. Learn the routine. Find the gap. When timing opens, you don't debate the ethics of fences. You slip through. Freedom isn't a gift. It's a door you notice because you finally looked for it. Here's a small habit that unlocks big power. Question the default. Every time someone says, "That's just how it's done," ask, who benefits? Every time conformity presses on you, ask, what if I do the opposite? Every time you feel fear, ask, whose control does this fear protect? That line of questioning turns employees of the script into editors of the script. Yes, people will react. Some will roll their eyes. Some will push you to be realistic. That's code for be predictable again. Ignore it. Your shift threatens their comfort. When you step out, you prove escape is possible. Nothing terrifies the system more than a living counterexample. Now, let's go deeper. The elite don't just play. They build games. They engineer incentives, attention, and debt. But patterns don't lie. Once you spot them, fear, distraction, division, you can flip them. Use the job for skills and cash flow while you build assets. Use the social noise to learn persuasion, not to be persuaded. Use their rules to climb to the point you don't need their rules. This isn't about becoming rich for the highlight reel. It's about being untouchable where it counts. Your time, your choices, your direction. True wealth is waking up without dread, spending your day on work you chose, and going to sleep with no one's leash around your neck. That's the wealth that never gets repossessed. You don't have to fight every battle. You need to find the cracks, places where you can move differently without permission slips. The system is powerful, not perfect. Machiavelli left you a map. Don't be loud, be precise. Don't be pure, be effective. Don't be a pawn waiting for fairness. Be a player who understands human nature and plays accordingly. Let's get brutally clear. The system doesn't want your success. It wants your energy, your obedience, your silence. That's the fuel. That's why schools never teach you about money, strategy, or power. They don't want independent thinkers. They want reliable workers. Memorize. Repeat. Obey. Be quiet. Fit in. Color inside the lines. By the time you graduate, you're trained for a life of dependence without even realizing it. Machiavelli didn't write for dependents. He wrote for rulers, for those bold enough to think beyond the script. His lessons aren't designed for everyone. Most people can't handle them. But if you're still watching, still listening, then maybe you're one of the few who's ready to see through the illusions. And here's the hard truth. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you taste freedom, you can't go back to swallowing chains. Think about debt. Look at how many people today live in cycles of payment. Credit cards, student loans, car payments, mortgages. That's not random. That's design. Debt keeps you docile. Debt makes you nod politely when you want to scream. Debt makes you stay in jobs you hate because you're terrified of missing that next payment. The rulers don't need soldiers with whips anymore. They've got numbers, interest rates, late fees. Modern chains don't rattle. They auto-deduct. Here's the hidden lever. The system only works if you're afraid. Afraid to lose. Afraid to fail. Afraid of being different. That fear is what keeps you in line. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. Fear is the ruler's greatest weapon. But flip it, and suddenly you have leverage. The moment you stop fearing loss, you gain power. The moment you stop fearing other people's opinions, you gain freedom. The moment you stop fearing failure, you gain options. At first, waking up feels lonely. You notice your friends and family still deep in the trap. They tell you to stop dreaming. They tell you to be realistic. They mock your ideas, call you reckless. And inside, part of you wants to run back to the safety of the herd. But those who keep going discover something remarkable. Outside the script are roads you never saw before. Money is a perfect example. Most people think the only path is trading hours for dollars. Go to work, get paid, spend, repeat. That's what they were taught. But money isn't just wages. It's flow. It moves toward value, toward solutions, toward courage. Jobs are just one doorway. There are hundreds of others. But the system hides them, because a population that knows too many exits is impossible to control. That's why those who break free stop begging for promotions and start building their own tables. They learn how to sell, how to invest, how to create something from nothing. They stop waiting for a seat in the room and just build the room themselves. That's escape in action. But let me give you a warning. The system is clever. It distracts you with new toys, endless shows, trending arguments, cheap entertainment. It feeds you comfort while your chains tighten. Distraction is the sugar that makes the poison taste good. That's why so many never leave. They're too busy scrolling to notice they're trapped. Machiavelli would say this: beware of distraction. It's not harmless. It's a weapon. Comfort is not freedom. It's sedation. And if you stay sedated, you'll die obedient. So, what's the alternative? Discipline. Not the discipline the school forced on you, silent rows, memorized rules, but real discipline. The ability to master yourself. The ability to direct your own focus, say no to what weakens you, control your time instead of handing it away. The rulers fear disciplined people, because a disciplined mind can't be manipulated as easily. Think of discipline as a sword. It slices through the lies, through the distractions, through the fears that keep you compliant. And once you hold that sword, the system can't play the same tricks on you. Let's get tactical. If you want to escape, start with attention. Who owns it right now? Is it your phone, your boss, the news cycle? Take it back. Your attention is your strongest currency. Every scroll, every click, every hour is energy you could be investing into your freedom. Train your attention like a muscle. Direct it toward skills that can't be stolen. Strategy, communication, creativity, leadership. These aren't hobbies. They're weapons. Another tactic: silence. The system wants you loud. It wants you oversharing every thought, every plan, every move. Why? Because predictable people are easy to manage. But Machiavelli would tell you, power grows in the shadows. Conceal your intentions. Don't broadcast your goals to people who secretly want you to fail. Don't seek validation from those who benefit from your weakness. Move quietly, and let your results speak louder than any words. Here's what will happen when you live this way. People will notice. Some will envy you. Some will mock you. Some will despise you. But others will respect you, even admire you in silence. That's how you know you've stepped out of the trap. You've become untouchable in a world where everyone else is chained to fear. And once you are there, you can move into advanced play. This is where Machiavelli would really smile. Instead of rejecting the system outright, you learn to use it. Use school not for obedience, but for connections. Use your job not for survival, but for skills and resources. Use their tools to build your escape plan, while never revealing your true aim. That's what real rulers do. They don't fight the system head-on. They siphon power from it until they no longer need it. The end game isn't survival. The end game isn't a nice paycheck or a shiny title. The end game is control over your mind, your time, your decisions. The kind of wealth that no boss or banker can touch. Waking up every morning knowing your life is yours. That's what Machiavelli was pointing to all along. And in the next part, we're going to dive even deeper into time, knowledge, leverage, and the windows hidden in every system that most people never see. The system has been engineered to blind you with illusions. It whispers, "You're free." But look closer. You're free to work, but not free to quit. Free to buy, but not free to own. Free to speak, but rarely free to be heard. That's not freedom. It's a polished cage. And because most people never question the cage, they confuse survival with living. That's exactly what the system wants. predictable workers, obedient consumers, lives on autopilot. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He knew that systems aren't neutral. They're designed by the powerful to protect power. And if you don't learn how those rules work, you'll spend your life fueling an empire that isn't yours. His message wasn't about rebellion for rebellion's sake. It was about clarity, about seeing the rules clearly enough that you stop being just a pawn and start becoming a player. Look at money. The rich don't trade their time for dollars. They use their dollars to buy assets, which make more money while they sleep. The poor do the opposite. They trade time for money, then trade money for liabilities. Cars, gadgets, luxury fashion, all things that look like wealth but bleed them dry. Do you really think that's an accident? No. It's a trap built on psychology. A cycle of dependence designed to keep you running but never arriving. So how do you get out? Machiavelli's answer: build power. Not just political power, but personal power. Power over your money. Power over your emotions. Power over your time. If you're always desperate, always begging, always dependent, you will always be controlled. Power begins the moment you reduce desperation. That's why the first move is to kill dependency. Dependency on paychecks? Start building skills that let you earn on your own terms. Dependency on validation. Stop chasing likes. Stop begging for approval. Dependency on comfort. Train yourself to endure discomfort until it no longer scares you. These are the habits of rulers, not servants. But here's the catch. Most people don't actually want freedom. They say they do, but when freedom shows up dressed as discomfort, they reject it. They'd rather be poor but entertained, safe but trapped, than free but challenged. And the system counts on that. Because as long as people choose comfort, the rulers win without a fight. But you, if you're still listening, are not most people. Something inside you is already restless. Something in you knows that life can't just be about paying, obeying, and dying. That hunger is the spark Machiavelli spoke to. Here's the strategy. Don't waste your energy raging against the system. Outsmart it. You can't kill it, but you can bend it. You can't erase the rules, but you can exploit the loopholes. Stop living in reaction. Start living with strategy. Don't wait for permission. Move as though you already have it. Don't follow the herd. Observe it, learn from it, and then step aside. And stop trying to prove your worth to people who only value you when you're weak. Every ounce of energy you spend explaining yourself to the blind is energy stolen from building your escape. Use that energy to create things no one can take. Skills, assets, networks, discipline. Those are weapons. And once you have them, the rulers can't play the same game with you anymore. Here's the darkest truth. The system doesn't need you to win. It needs you to lose. It thrives on your struggle. Every time you beg for a job, you fuel it. Every time you sign a loan, you fuel it. Every time you accept unfair rules because you're afraid to resist, you fuel it. That's why escaping isn't just about getting rich, it's about rebellion. Every chain you break, every dollar you control, every hour you reclaim is a direct attack on a system that survives by keeping you small. So here's the challenge. Decide what role you want to play. Will you remain a pawn, living by rules that were never written for your benefit? Or will you accept the harder, lonelier, but far more powerful path of becoming a player? The truth is, the system won't celebrate you for this. It won't clap for your progress. It will resist you at every step. People around you will warn you you're reckless, that you'll fail, that it's too risky. But remember, every real move looks risky to the blind. If you listen to the fearful, you'll inherit their life. If you listen to the brave, you'll build your own. Let me give you a picture. Two people stand in front of the same locked door. One stares at the lock, shakes his head and says, "We're stuck." The other notices a window cracked open to the side. Who escapes? Not the complainer, not the waiter, but the one who looks for another way. That's the Machiavellian mindset. Don't argue about the lock. Find the window. And here's the hidden secret. Every system has windows, cracks, loopholes, exits. They exist because no system is perfect. Most people are too busy complaining about the door to notice them. But those who think differently, who study, who act, they slip through while everyone else is still arguing. That's why the powerful always look untouchable. They're not stronger than you. They're just not playing the same game as you. They've stepped out of the cage while the crowd keeps debating its rules. Here's the next level. Once you understand the rules, you stop fighting the system head-on. You start slipping through its cracks like smoke. That's what the powerful do. They don't waste energy screaming about unfairness. They study the system until its weaknesses reveal themselves, and then they move, quietly, strategically. While the masses are distracted, they build exits. Think about money again. Most people work for it. The powerful flip the script and make money work for them. Instead of being consumers, they become creators. Instead of chasing attention, they learn how to command it. Instead of being trapped inside the system, they learn how to design their own. That's why they always seem one step ahead. They're playing a higher level game. But here's the key. The end game isn't about being the richest person in the room or having the flashiest lifestyle. That's another illusion the system sells you, a shiny distraction to keep you hooked. The real end game is control. Control of your mind, your choices, your time. That's wealth no one can repossess. If you can wake up tomorrow and know, without doubt, that you own yourself, you own your day, your work, your life, that's real power. And that's the escape Machiavelli would point you toward. The rulers don't want you to see this. They want you blind, obedient, comfortable. But comfort is the enemy of freedom. Comfort keeps you numb. The moment you start choosing growth over comfort, you step outside their game. The moment you choose discipline over distraction, you sharpen your weapon. The moment you act instead of complain, you begin to build your own empire, brick by brick. It won't be easy. It was never supposed to be. That's why most people stay in the cage, smiling as they waste their lives. But you don't have to. You can be one of the few who sees, one of the few who acts, one of the few who escapes. Here's where Machiavelli's wisdom cuts the deepest. The system doesn't survive by force anymore. It survives by consent. Nobody has to drag you into the cage. You walk in willingly. You sign the contracts. You beg for the jobs. You scroll the feeds. You buy the distractions. You chain yourself, and then you call it freedom. That's the genius of it. But step back for a moment and really look at the routine of the average person. Wake up tired, rush to work, sit in traffic, spend hours on tasks that barely matter, come home drained, distract yourself with entertainment, fall asleep, repeat, week after week, year after year, decade after decade. Is that freedom? Or is it a prison with invisible bars? When you zoom out, the pattern is obvious. You're trained to live for the weekend, to live for holidays, to live for retirement. But your best years, the fire of your youth, the strength of your prime, are drained away to fuel someone else's empire. And when people start to feel the emptiness, what happens? The system tosses them another distraction. New shows, new products, new arguments online. New elections that promise change but deliver the same cage. Bread and circuses. That's the formula. Keep the masses entertained, and they'll never revolt. Machiavelli saw it long ago. Keep the crowd distracted with petty drama, and they won't notice the larger chains. But the escape begins with awareness. Awareness is like turning on a light in a dark room. You suddenly see the traps that were always there. You see how comfort was weaponized against you. You see how your attention was stolen. You see how your time has been programmed for someone else's benefit. Now, waking up doesn't mean quitting your job tomorrow and setting everything on fire. That's chaos, not strategy. Machiavelli would never tell you to burn your bridges. He'd tell you to cross them quietly, to move from one side to the other without making a sound. Escaping the system isn't about rebellion for rebellion's sake. It's about building power carefully, steadily, in ways that can't be taken away. One of the first steps is controlling your time. Most people sell their time cheaply, the most valuable thing they own, in exchange for a wage that barely covers their bills. But rulers think differently. They guard their time like treasure. They invest it. They use it to build leverage. They refuse to sell it cheaply. That's why if you want to escape, you need to start reclaiming even 1 hour a day. 1 hour you use not to feed the system, but to build something of your own. That hour becomes your escape hatch. That hour is your weapon. Another hidden weapon: information. The system feeds you gossip, headlines, surface-level drama. But those who escape go deeper. They read the books nobody else reads. They study strategy while everyone else scrolls. They learn psychology, persuasion, power. Because once you understand how people think, you stop being their puppet. You start pulling the strings. But knowledge without action is useless. Too many people know they're trapped, but do nothing. They rant. They complain. They blame, but they don't move. And the system loves complainers, because complainers waste their energy on words instead of building change. Machiavelli would remind you, real power is silent. You don't shout about the cage. You don't beg for freedom. You build your escape in silence, and one day you walk out without a sound. That's how true power moves. And yet, there's a price for refusing to act. You already know it. More debt, more dependence, more wasted years. The system doesn't care if you burn out. It'll replace you instantly. You're not special to it. You're just another cog. And unless you take control, that's all you'll ever be. Here's the turning point. If you want to escape, you need leverage. Leverage is the ability to do more with less. The system is designed to keep you powerless, constantly trading more of your time for less reward. But once you build leverage, you flip the game. You stop begging. You stop waiting. You start choosing. Leverage can take many forms: financial leverage, investments, assets, or businesses that make money work for you instead of you slaving for it. Social leverage, networks of people who respect and trust you, creating opportunities no paycheck could ever buy. Knowledge leverage, knowing things others don't, seeing opportunities hidden in plain sight. Each type of leverage is a key. Collect enough of them, and the cage doors stop mattering. But here's the part most people never realize. When you start building leverage, the world reacts. Some people will cheer for you. Others will envy you. Many will try to pull you back, not because they hate you, but because your freedom reminds them of their chains. And some will warn you, it's too risky. Play it safe. Don't be reckless. But understand this. Every breakthrough looks reckless to the blind. If you listen to the fearful, you'll live their life. If you listen to the brave, you'll create your own. Picture this. Two people stand before the same locked door. One shakes his head. It's impossible. The other notices a small window cracked open to the side. Who escapes? Not the complainer, not the waiter, but the one willing to look differently. That's the Machiavellian mindset. Don't argue about the lock. Find the window. And here's the truth they'll never tell you. Every system has windows, cracks, loopholes, hidden exits. They exist because no system is perfect, but the masses never see them because they're too busy complaining about the door. The rulers, on the other hand, find them, slip through them, and build empires while everyone else waits. That's why the powerful always look untouchable. They're not stronger, smarter, or braver by default. They just refuse to play the same game as everyone else. They know the rules, but they don't let the rules cage them. They bend them, twist them, or simply walk away from them. And here's where the advanced tactics begin. Once you've escaped the basic traps, you can play on higher levels. You stop working for money and start making money work for you. You stop chasing attention and start commanding it. You stop being just another consumer of the system, and you start becoming a designer of your own. Because the end game isn't about being rich in the way TV sells it. It's not about shiny cars, luxury vacations, or social media clout. Those are illusions meant to keep you spending, not free. The true endgame is control. Control of your mind, control of your time, control of your choices. True wealth isn't measured in numbers, it's measured in independence. If you can wake up tomorrow knowing no one can take away your freedom, knowing your day belongs to you, your mind belongs to you, your life belongs to you, that's wealth, that's power, that's escape. Remember this. The system survives by keeping you comfortable enough not to resist. It doesn't need to chain you physically anymore. It just needs you to chain yourself. That's why it floods you with distractions, comforts, amusements. Because a person who's endlessly entertained is a person who never questions. And a person who never questions is a perfect slave. So your task is simple, but not easy. Question, train, build, and escape. Don't waste your life fighting over crumbs. Don't waste your energy fueling someone else's empire. Use your attention, your focus, your time, the only resources you truly own, to carve your own way out. The system wants you blind. It wants you obedient. It wants you comfortable. But comfort is the enemy of freedom. Growth is uncomfortable. Discipline is uncomfortable. Building is uncomfortable, and that's why most people never do it. They'd rather stay asleep in the cage than wake up to the hard work of freedom. But if you're still here listening now, you're not like most people. You've seen through the illusion. You've felt the hunger for more, and that hunger is the spark of power. Feed it, train it, build it. Because once you step outside the cage, you won't just be free, you'll be dangerous. And a free, dangerous mind in a world built on chains. That is the most powerful force alive.